In today's sequence, we're going to take some poses that are really designed to help release tension in the upper back and in the neck. And often those two things go together. Something that a lot of us suffer from time to time with our computer work, with sometimes just having done even manual work, and then the next day we wake up and we've got that sort of tension or tightness of the upper back and neck. Let's have a look at some poses we can do to specifically target the shoulders and to bring a bit of release to the neck itself. So we're going to start off in just a few minutes now in lying back in simple cross leg over a bolster. We're going to place the bolster at one side, have a blanket for the back of the head according to the type of support you need for your head so it doesn't tip back. Simple cross leg with the legs and lie back. I've chosen today simple cross leg. You could equally do supta baddhanguliyasana, for example, but sometimes just in the sense, depends on what equipment you have, it's a perfectly reasonable way to start out, just having the legs simply crossed so that you can focus on and prioritize the opening of the chest. Just a few minutes to let your eyes quieten, to observe yourself in the pose, and often we do mention this frequently, that you just got a chance to take a moment, even in the busyness of getting up in the morning, getting ready for work or coming back at the end of the day, that just to have a sense of what the body is really feeling like and to focus in on what's going on for us in our body that particular day. You might now be feeling actually it's a little more the upper back, maybe it's a bit more one shoulder more than the other. We get a chance to see what I sometimes call what the ingredients are for the day, how we're going to be working with them. You can change your cross leg so that you have that slightly different cross to balance out the two sides of the pelvis, and just stay a few more breaths there. Okay, and we'll get started. You'll come up, and you can come up. I'm going to remove that bolster, but I'm going to use it now for the arms for Virasana forwards. I'm going to put this in front, and just going to put his hands on top and press down to start to now open up into that upper thoracic area. Roll the buttocks back down towards your heels and hold there. Now, why have the hands up? The hands up onto something, blocks or bolster, helps to give a lift through the elbows, which then helps us to bring more attention, more opening into that middle, often stiffer for most of us, part of our upper back. But let the head and the neck release down. And just hold a few breaths there. It's really a sense of preparing also the arms to extend fully from the side of the chest without having to make a lot of effort. And equally, now we're beginning also to fine-tune a bit more our understanding of how that upper back and neck are responding so far. So a few breaths there. And then as you're ready, release and come up. And you come up for standing. Feet hip-width apart. Now we are going to work here with the feet hip-width apart in Thoracic with a few, what I might call arm variations, a few different ways of checking the extension through the side chest, and just again try to find out where the niggle or the tightness might be, and to start to bring some circulation and movement through this shoulder area. Baddhanguliyasana, interlock your fingers and extend the palms away. Inhale, raise the arms up. As you raise the arms up, watch that your sternum stays, chest bone stays just in line with the navel. Keep your kneecaps up. Keep feeling the bottom of the base of your feet, toes forwards, heels back. Take a few breaths. Holding steady with an awareness of your legs, release the arms down and change. See if you find out something a little different this side. Raise the arms up, inhale. Normal breathing, inhalation, exhalation, continue. Hold a few breaths. Let the head stay back in line with the shoulders to open the chest. And release the arms down. We'll go now for garudasana arms. Take the arms out to the side and take your right arm over your left for garudasana arms and join the palms together. Now we're joining the palms to capacity, meaning some of you may be a little lower down, just able to hold your thumb, but important that the little finger side turns to face forwards. And as you're there, just dropping your top elbow in line more with the shoulders, and then watching that this chest bone stays up as you press the elbows against each other. So as though you're gluing those 2 points together to spread across the trapezius muscle here at the sides of the neck. Release the arms right out to the sides and change. Other arm on top. Hold there. Keep the top elbow in line with the shoulders. Raise your sternum up. Press the elbows, not aggressively, but just firmly against each other so you can feel the spreading and opening out from the sides of the neck to the edges of the shoulders. Hold a few breaths. You might do 3, 4 steady breaths, feeling as you go how things are beginning either to still resist or beginning to let go. Reach the arms out to the side, and now bring your hands back for namaskar behind you. Join your palms. You can turn around for a moment, Andrew, so that you can just check here. You're bringing your palms together, fingers up towards the ceiling. Feel that your little finger towards the spine is helping to move that part of the dorsal spine forwards. This lower part here, where your wrist bones are, you don't have to push that so far forwards. Just even let this middle dorsal a bit lower come towards your lower wrist, but your top chest move forwards. So you're not just using all your efforts into your lower part of the back. We want to get into this middle part of the dorsal spine. Shoulders releasing still away from the neck. And if it doesn't come, even if you can hold partly a little bit lower, can still be okay. But if you find really that movement doesn't come, the shoulders are still too tight, you can take your hands in baddhanguliyasana and holding, and still you feel the shoulders roll back and the upper back begin to move more forwards. And now release the arms out to the side. Again, feel the extension through the side of the chest and release your arms down. Eyes quiet. Now we're going to now bring a ledge, and you might have any ledge at home, a table, tabletop, kitchen table. Got to use this now to take the hands onto, and taking your palms down on for half-uttanasana. Palms facing down. Now remember a moment ago when you were doing Virasana, you had your palms down onto the bolster and the elbows staying up. We're trying to get this movement to go all the way through into the shoulder, right up, just bring the floating ribs slightly up to extend the arms evenly, palm, elbow, shoulder, side, waist. Kneecaps up, let your legs hold you steady, and just hold a few moments there. So you'll feel that as you press, again, firmly, but not with aggression and gripping, pressing down, you can, keeping the elbows up, you can start to engage more this upper part of the back. And notice here that the head remains, the ears more in line with your arms, not hanging the head down, but bringing it up in line, ears, arms, pretty much in line. And then look forwards and step forwards. This is something we call headstand preparation. It is in a way, but it's actually more a sense of how the arms are placed. You're going to place your elbows onto the bench or ledge, step back, and then join your palms together. So as fingers facing up towards the ceiling. Armpit to elbow long. Palms together like namaskar that were behind you before. Now, important that this forward extension comes into the elbows as you now move your fingers back towards that upper part of your dorsal thoracic spine. As you take your fingers back, keep elongating. Armpit to elbow. Watch that the elbows don't splay out wide to the side. Keep them in line with your shoulders. Now, there's a little trick you can often do. Some of us have that upper thoracic that just kind of bulges out a bit. It gets heavy or feels a bit trapped. So you can just bring your thumbs down just on those upper vertebrae there of your thoracic dorsal spine and just press a little down and squeeze back or lengthen backwards. So really what's happening is the upper back, the upper thoracic tends to sort of creep up into the back of the neck. Often that term is sort of dowager's hump or heaviness that comes there. You can just use your own fingers to press down and back towards the buttocks, and you can even do that just a few moments. You can even walk if you can go a little further down. Just move your thumbs back. It's not to make it an uncomfortable action for your shoulders, but just to feel that sometimes it gives a nice release to the upper part of the back. And then as you're ready, you'll take your fingers down, step forwards as you're ready, and stand in Tadasana. Now one more action we can use with this ledge here. You're going to do a facing out now, away from the ledge, and taking your hands onto the ledge. So face to the side, and take your hands back onto that ledge. And then once the fingers are there, you're going to walk forwards till you feel that side chest still open, and just notice the outer shoulder bones come back. Press down through the fingers, depends on the height, palms down or fingers down, but just to feel the opening of the chest. Feet apart is fine, so you feel stable. Just notice your armpit ribs, often that part sinks down, then the chest drops, then the back of the shoulders come up towards the neck. We're just trying to keep that shoulder blades going down, side chest up, but not to distort and be hanging the buttocks back or forwards. Just walk enough forwards where you can feel that the shoulders can go back and the side chest can lift, sternum staying open, head straight. And once again, 4, 5 breaths there. And this is something that you can incorporate at any time. Just a few things to open your chest and shoulders, and then release. I'm going to put this bench away now. We're going to use the wall for a few poses. We're now going to do some work on opening the shoulders one arm at a time. So I'm going to get Andrew to come up. If you just face the wall for a moment, take your hand up, but more at the level of your waist, and then keeping yourself close to the wall, turn. And as you turn, press the palm into the wall and feel how that arm is extending all the way to the palm, but also you're feeling the shoulder, this part of the shoulder, the head of the shoulder, starting to move back. This arm just down by your side, keeping the two sides of the chest as much as possible in line with each other. Now, we started a bit lower here because often that movement can be a little strong on some shoulders if there's either a problem with the shoulder or just stiffness. So if you ease off now, if that is manageable, see if you can go a little higher, so more to the height of the shoulder itself, and then turn again, keeping yourself close into the wall, palm facing into the wall. Feel that movement. You'll feel it's a little stronger, keeping the side of your chest. We'll see also as we turn to the other side, lift it and open forwards, the armpit chest. Hold a few breaths. And then release, and we'll do the other side. So again, starting down, more in line with your waist. He's moved in. It will be more manageable, and then some will be able to go that next step further. Just that's right, you can stay there a moment. Turn the two sides of the chest facing forwards, the shoulder, the elbow, the hand are up against the wall. If you're not completely to the wall, don't worry. Never the idea is never to force, but just to work to where you feel your capacity is. And then let's see if we can extend that a bit further. Find out, bringing the hand to the level of the shoulder, staying in close and still turning the side, armpit, chest. The left one here, turning towards the front. And again, you've got to work things together, palm into the wall, the elbows supported, and just feel that turn in the chest, turn, and how the shoulder bone reacts to that. Hold, and that also will give you some opening from the side of the neck towards the shoulder. And release. And turn back and hands down. Now we're going to do a dog pose now. So if you notice what we're doing here, we're opening the upper back, we're keeping the arms long, we're trying to open up through that front of the shoulder, and now we're going to work on some other shoulder actions which can be quite useful to help releasing upper back and neck tightness. We'll turn this mat to the wall. You're going to need a wall, your mat, and 2 blocks. Now the action is, or the work is from dog pose. What's important here before Andrew comes down is that you have your two blocks. You've got to have them, it really is about a 45-degree angle. And by that I mean, because it doesn't work as well, we do need to pay attention to the setup, that you're not down just onto a skirting board, you're not completely upright, you're leaning back, and I call it 45 more or less, but the idea is that you've got the block about at a half angle, not at 90 and not too flat. That's important. I'm going to get Andrew to come and kneel down in like a Virasana. And you've got to start off with the palms, fingers facing out. So dog pose with the hands up, palms to the block, and fingers facing out. Now just check before you go up that the inside of your wrist is in line with the inside of the armpit. So not narrow in, not too wide, about straight through there. Extending out through the palms, now raise up for adho mukha svanasana, downward facing dog. Notice those who are stiffer in the shoulders will have some little bit of tightness through the front of the shoulder. You may find this an easier option than your full dog pose. But the purpose here also is that we're trying to get into all parts of the shoulder with the variations we've got to do. The elbows up towards the ceiling. It's as if, and I won't be doing that, but it's as if I were going to press heavily down on Andrew's elbows and he's got to push up against me to really keep the arms long and straight, and then reaching back into the heels, 4 or 5 breaths, and just try to not just do it, but try to feel what is happening, how this part of the shoulder, you get more the arm rolling or the shoulder rolling back more easily than when the hands are flat and straight. So just feel what it's doing. Now bend your knees, and you've got to go to Virasana forwards, turn your fingers back up towards the ceiling, that's it, and just roll the buttocks back and down. So resting in between, 3 variations, resting in between, Virasana, and turning your hands back up, fingers towards the ceiling. That's not an awkward position for the shoulders. Now the second one is fingers pointing in towards each other. This will reach a different part of your chest. Now you may need to bring your blocks a little closer together so that your fingers aren't curling in onto that front edge of the block. Here your measurement is outside shoulder, outside wrist, outside shoulder. So not too wide, and often it wants to go that way. Bring yourself closer, outside wrist, outside shoulder. Now this will be a little harder if you're stiffer in the shoulders, but a nice opening through the side chest. So as you're ready, adho mukha svanasana, fingers pointing in towards each other, then raise up your floating ribs so that you don't, that's it. What happens is often when we're stiff in the shoulders, we start to compensate somewhere else. See that you're still doing your dog pose and just work gradually in. So for Andrew, that part of the chest, that side chest, just coming into the shoulders a little tighter as it is for many of us, and this starts to open that part a little bit more. So we're not, in yoga we're always looking to not leave any stone unturned, not to leave any part of the body without coming into it and beginning to create some freedom. And then bend your knees, turn the fingers back up, and roll the buttocks back for Virasana. The eyes quieten, let the breath soften, the shoulders, let the upper thoracic here just release a moment. Now the third variation, and this one for some is more challenging, but notice what it does. It's really going to pull the top of your shoulders, your trapezius muscle more specifically, back away from your ears. So watch for a moment and then try. Then this time you're going to turn your fingers down towards the floor. Don't be concerned, they will want to roll a little back up to the side, but you're trying really to bring them so that the fingers are facing down and resist the temptation, resist the pull where they want to turn back up. Now, adho mukha svanasana. This is going to be more restricted, same for everyone. But you watch also here and notice yourselves. If I stand behind for a moment and try to pull backwards, try to open back, so Andrew's got to really work his legs back so that the side chest gets a little more freedom, that's it. And the part of the body that I was talking about is this part. You notice that when the palms are down, it really draws that trapezius muscle away from the ears. And for us, most of us, that's another area. It creeps up, wants to come up to the neck. We try to keep it down and away. And all these parts of the body are like fibers that get tangled and tight. We try to get some opening evenly throughout. Bend the knees, turn your fingers back up, and Virasana, forwards. Roll the buttocks back, release the head, and quieten. Let the back of the neck and head release as they're able. Hands are a bit up, so you can still have the lift through the elbows, and letting this part still work to release, or still be allowed to release downwards, keeping the elbows up and firm. We're going to go now from this adho mukha svanasana and different arm variations to more, if you like, relaxing, but a way in which we can start to get some traction and unstick some of those upper vertebrae that tend to get caught. Let's have a look at how that works. So we're going to come up and we'll turn the mat. We don't need the wall for this, so let's turn the mat out to the side. And you're going to be taking 2 blocks, and you may need more. We'll have a look. We're having 2 blocks, one directly in front of the other. And I'll bring a couple of extra blankets and show how they need to work. First of all, I've got to take our shoulder stand fold blanket and place it over those 2 blocks. Now the reason we're using the blanket is because on blocks, mainly the back sticks and you can't slide. It's important here that we get the traction, and you'll feel that and see that in a moment. 2 blocks or 3 blocks depends on your length. What you don't want, you'll see, is the buttocks hanging over the edge. So I might get Andrew to set up, and that way you can see what you're looking for. You've got to start with the edge of your shoulders here to the front edge of the block. So move back. It often seems that often people stop a bit short. Feel the edge of your block to the edge of the shoulders, top shoulder. Now Andrew's just okay there, that the buttocks are just coming a bit over the edge. But I want to make it clear here that for your lower back also, and to get maximum benefit from this, don't have the buttocks hanging down to the floor. So I may just be able to get you to raise up in a moment, Andrew. Yep, I'm going to put a bit of height underneath the buttocks there, and then rest the buttocks down. So if you find that when you lie back, you actually have the buttocks hanging down towards the floor, even resting on the floor, you definitely need some extra height. You could have 3 blocks if you have them available to you. It doesn't matter so much what it is, except that you don't want the buttocks hanging down. Now, the shoulders are to the edge of these the blocks underneath. Now here, Andrew's head is in a good position. He's resting the head back onto the mat, and it's quite comfortable. His throat is soft. But it may be that, for some of you, that the head really goes back, and without pushing Andrew uncomfortably back, but just to feel that you just really can't reach the floor. For some, even that's the problem, or that you're very tight through the throat. So if that's the case, I'm going to take 1 more blanket. And if that were the case, we'll just bring the floor up a little bit so that the head can rest back down onto something. That's not something you need. Andrew didn't need that. But definitely if your head doesn't reach, if you feel shortening at the back of your neck, then that's going to detract from the way the pose works. If in doubt, take a little bit of support under the back of the head. But I'm going to remove it now for Andrew and head down. How long you stay in each variation, there are 3 of them, depends a little bit on how they feel. So what we're trying to do here is again to feel how to find some release for the tightness we find often in that upper back. Many of us find that tends to just creep up. The upper back slides up into the neck, it shortens. We get the heaviness around the upper dorsal thoracic vertebrae, and they even begin to feel sometimes a bit locked, or sometimes even you get some headaches around those muscles, around the muscle tightness. So this is the first step. And what really is happening here is the head is heavy and it's down towards the floor. It's helping to bring the back of your neck away from your upper back, from that shoulder area. So it's creating a little bit of space already. But this is a more a lighter version, good one to start with, and there are 3 stages. Stage 2, got to raise the buttocks up a little, and remember I was saying sliding is important, so you've got to slide halfway towards the floor and then rest the buttocks back down. So what's happening there is we're tractioning, we're pulling the upper back skin and even the muscle area down towards the buttocks rather than having it climb up towards the back of the neck. And just rest quietly there. You'll probably find that that top edge of those of the brick there, of the block, it's probably pressing somewhere into your the inside edge of your shoulder blades, middle part, depends a bit on your height. But for many of us, that feels really good. It feels like it's just opening up the inner edge of the shoulder blade that tends to roll backwards, create a little bit more heaviness to the upper back. So if that feels good, although I will say generally 1.5 minutes or so in each stage, you might find that 2 minutes here feels really nice, a little shorter on the first stage. There's no harm in staying longer if you find it's feeling like it's in a good position for your upper back. So one of the other things to really notice is just to feel what it's doing. Because once we feel what's happening and what gives us release, we've got more tools to use. Now the third stage is going to bring the shoulders right to the floor. Again, you'll raise your buttocks and then slide until the shoulders come right down, and then buttocks down onto your support. Now what I did there is I helped to create a sort of brace here for the shoulders. What happens for some is that as you slide back, you end up going horizontally out, and you end up with the edge of the blocks sort of down to the middle part of your back. Here, as much as possible, rolling the shoulders down to the floor towards the blocks, but obviously you need to be able to have some freedom and feel that it's still comfortable in a comfortable place for your upper back. Then, if your lower back is happy to do this, you'll extend out through the legs. And again, I say that most people are quite comfortable in their lower back in this position, and it creates a mini setu bandha, mini supported bridge pose, and it gives a really nice opening through the upper pectoral area, through your side chest. And because your upper back is well supported and open, often the back of the neck and head are nicely down. And even those who are a bit rounded in the upper back find that with this support, they don't really need much height under the back of the head when they're lying in this position. But if your lower back feels a bit tight, or it's pulling, it doesn't feel good to have the legs out extended, you can equally have the knees bent and bring your feet back onto the floor. So extend the legs, see how that feels, so that you feel long through the lower back, not shortening or jamming up in any way. And just stay, again you can stay 1 minute, 2 minutes, depending a little bit on your time and how that's feeling. But it's a really nice pose. The shoulders, the back of the head are at the same level. And then you've got your upper back opening, which, as we know, we've been looking at, is often just a hard thing for many of us to achieve. It starts to round backwards. And then as you're ready to come up, you'll bend your knees. And then the blocks are not very high, so you're okay now just to roll over onto your right side, roll completely off the blocks, and just wait there a moment and just see what you feel, see if that feels like there's a bit of release. Allow yourself transition moments so that you can see if what you just did seemed like a useful thing to do or not. I'm going to remove those blankets and be finishing with Virasana forwards. I'll remove one blanket. And we're going to take support for the head now as we're coming towards the end of the session. We've got to have those hands onto the blocks, and I'll just use that blanket height, whatever height you need, a little more if needed, to rest the forehead down onto. So Virasana forwards, hands onto the blocks. Release the forehead down. Here the blanket is helping to keep the elbows up, the palms are down on your block, and that upper back area, see what it's feeling like. What I was saying before is that where the neck finishes there, it joins up to your upper back. We're trying to just create a little bit of space there, as we did when we had the elbows onto the bench. There are lots of, as you start to move through these sequences, you'll see that some of the actions we're trying to come to have links and are common to other actions. Still always side chest open, and here the head nice and quietly released down. And then come up and remove those blocks, and got to set up for Shavasana to finish now, slightly different way. You've got to have a slight roll, small roll for the back of the neck. So you see how that works in a moment. So I'm rolling that, depends on your neck curvature, but we'll roll that just a little bit up, and we'll have the back part of it here for the back of the neck and head. So I'll set that up, and then we'll get Andrew to lie back in Shavasana. Now this curve here, this roll is for the back of the neck. So you need to see, do you need more height or less height? It shouldn't be pushing you up uncomfortably, but it should fill out that curve at the back of the neck. And as you're ready, lie back, find out where that goes. I'll move that back. Yeah, that's it, move down a little bit. So it's curling up, it's rolling into the natural curve of the neck. The shoulders release back and down, extend out into your heels, and lie in Shavasana. I'll put the blocks away. And just feel there what that small curled or rolled blanket is doing. Now, this isn't for everyone. All these supports need to be individualized or personalized. Some people feel immediately that just gives support to the back of the neck and they can quieten more, especially if the neck is feeling tense or hard or stiff. Others will find actually already that extra push up into the back of the neck is a little bit too much or doesn't feel right. There is no one way. What we are looking for is release, looking for a healthy position for the body and a bit of quietness and release, in this case for the back of the neck and even for that upper thoracic area. The two go together. So stay just a few moments there and always feeling what it is that's going on, starting to not intellectually feel but really experience that feels really nice on the back of my neck, or something so-so, I'm not still sure, or actually that doesn't feel like the right support. And if it's not the right support, then you can just bring your blanket as you normally would, fold it in half again or whatever height you need for Shavasana. So observing how the back of the neck is with that roll, but also just feeling a moment, just what you've just been doing, your upper back, how that feels. Do you feel any extra length or space or softness, quietness through the upper back and neck? Letting the eyes soften and quieten, and just observe yourself there, just another few breaths. And this way we build on what we learn as we go along. We build from our practice. This sort of support works well for me. That action is something that's a really good thing for me because it brings me into balance. Or that particular support isn't really that useful for my body. I need to be looking at something else. And we're always looking for balance. And now as you're ready to finish, you'll bend up your knees. Pause a moment there. And then roll quietly over onto your right side and wait a moment there. Always just waiting to see, again, how you feel at the end of what you've just done in the last section, but also how your body's feeling throughout. See at least that the eyes often remain quiet and you can observe yourself more clearly and then come up to sitting. So that's a releasing sequence for the neck by getting a little bit of more opening and support for the upper back as well.